We look at the home, insert, page layout, the formula, the data, review, and the likes. So today, I believe that you are seeing the Excel spreadsheet. Hello, are you seeing the Excel spreadsheet? All right, okay, so let me continue. So now, today we want to look at some data manipulations that we can do in Excel. And this data is a fake data. So it contains, these are the columns of the data, and it is a transactional, is a fake data that contains the transaction of a fake company. So the company these are the products of the company. So if I want to check all the products of the company, I'll click on data and I will click on filter. So I can check, these are all the products of the company. That's clothing, electronics, and furniture. And these are all the sales reps of the company. These are the regions in which the company deliver the sales to. And these are the dates. So the data we are looking at is for the data we are looking at, you can see that is generally just for 2024 January, and these are all the sales amounts that are involved in what we are looking at. So don't forget that maybe it's your network. If you can see the spreadsheet, can you say I can see? Can you type that I can see the spreadsheet? If you can see the spreadsheet, just type it that I can see the spreadsheet. All right, thank you. So I've already confirmed from 2 people. So like I said, that now when you, so we are going to look at, let's start with maybe if we want to, you can add 1 or 2 cells together in Excel. So let's assume that I want to add this cell and this cell together. How do I go about that? So all I need to do is to press equal to. Don't forget that was why I taught you absolute reference of cell last week. So this is F2. This is F2, and F2, we did something like this last week. So I'm just trying to revise it. So, and don't forget that you can type your questions as I'm also teaching you. So F2 plus F3. So this is going to give me the addition of these two. So you can see that it gave me the addition. So if I want to do the subtraction, and I say, let's assume I want to do the subtraction of, let's say, the subtraction of this. So this one is F11. What I'm here is F11. So F11 minus F10. So if I do F11 minus F10, you can see how I got it. So you can do subtraction, you can do multiplication. So it all depends. It depends on the data you are given. So if I want to do multiplication, so let's assume F5. Now the multiplication is, I'm going to press the shift down and make use of the star. So shift down, star, F6. And that will give me the multiplication. Division is by, you just have to use the slash sign. and that will give you the division. But that's not where I'm going today. Those ones are very, very easy to know. So now let's now assume that I want to know the total sales. So I want to know the total sales of this company. How am I going to go about that? So that will lead me to using what we know as the function sum. So if I want to know the total sales of this company, so let me label it as total sales. Total sales. So if I want to know the total sales, I'm going to say that equal to sum. Then I will put in the bracket and I will say F1. Then I'm now going to use a colon F2. F51. You can see that the last one here is 51. So I'm going to say F51. Then I'm going to close the bracket. Then I will press enter. So this gives me the total sales of this company. So if, for example, a stakeholder now asks me that, okay, in the month of January, because this data is just for January, in the month of January, what is the total sales? What I did there was just to calculate this using the sum function. That is what I did there. So if I want to now, if they want to know the, let's assume we want to know the lowest sales that was recorded, the lowest sales that was recorded. So let's assume we want to know the lowest sales that was recorded. So if I want to know the lowest sales that was recorded in this month as well, so I'm going to make use of the function minimum. So that's min, then into brackets F1. So that will be F2 rather. Now, the reason why it's F2 is because F1 here is sales amount. So we have to make use of F2. So F2 into F51, then close the brackets. So this is the minimum sales. I mean, the lowest sales that was recorded. That's the lowest sales that was recorded. So then again, if I want to know the highest sales, that was recorded, how do I go about that? So the highest sales that was recorded. So that will be, I'm going to make use of the function max. So equal to max, then into brackets, F2, then column F51. Then I will close the bracket, then I will press enter. So that is the highest sales that was recorded. Now, let's now assume that I want to know the total transaction. That is, I want to know the total transactions. Now, as you are looking at it, you might say, oh, I already know the total transactions. However, you can have millions of data. You can have thousands of data. How do you, will you now be looking at it one by one? No. All you need to do is to press total. You just have to click on, okay, let me write it. Total transactions. We want to know the total transactions. So all you need to do is to make use of the function count. So that is going to count for us all the total transactions that we have. So that will be equals to counts, and we can say that F1, then column F2, then we close it, then press enter. Oh, sorry, column F2, column F51, and that will give us the number of transactions that we have. So now, for this data that I have here, is showing that the total transactions that we have is just basically 50. We are having just 50 transactions. So a stakeholder might ask that, how many transactions do you have in the month of January? And we already have our answer for it. So that is 50 already. So let's move on again. So what if you are being asked to check? So we want to check for sales. We want to check the sales that are above £1,000. So we want to check the sales that are above £1,000. So, and we want to do it in such a way that if any sales is above £1,000, if any sales is above £1,000, it should be classified as high sales. And if it is below £1,000, it should be classified as low sales. So how do we go about that? So the first thing to do is to, we are going to create the column here. So we are going to say that categories of sales. So because what we want to do here is to classify either as high sales or low sales. So we are going to say that equal to if. So we are going to make use of the if function here. So if, then into brackets, then we are now going to say that F2, because this is F2, I said the question here is that if the sales is more than £1,000, then it should be classified as high sales. And if it is less than £1,000, it should be classified as low sales. And so that is what we are doing. So if, now you can see the formula here. If logical test, now the logical test is F2 is greater than 1,000. That is the logical test. So then look at the formula. He said I should put a what? A comma. So what is the value if it is true? The value if it is true is I sale. I sale is the value if it is true. Then we put a comma. What if it is false? Low sale. Because I've already said that if sales are above 1,000, it should be classified as high sale. So if it is false, then it is a what? A low sale. So low sale. Then close the bracket. Then I will press enter. Now, when you look at it here, you can see that this £450 has been classified as a low sale. It has been classified as a low sale. And why has it been classified as a low sale? Because it is less than what? £1,000. So what do I need to do next? So I will drag all of this down. So you can see that when I brought my cursor here, you can see that it changed to a plus. Previously, the plus was different, but the cursor changed immediately. I brought it to this, the tail of where I'm typing at the moment. And so that is when I will now use my mouse to drag it down. So I'll press, if you are using a laptop, you press your left hand on the left mouse, and you will now drag it down. So this will give us all the category for all of the sales. Now, when you look at it now, you can see this one is greater than £1,000, and I've already classified, and it has already classified it as high sale. This one is less than £1,000. We've already classified it as low sale. You can see that it does the classification for us very well. So this one is also greater than £1,000, and it classified it as high sale. I'm going to entertain question after the class, so just drop your questions. So that is for if conditions. So what if we now want to what if we want to reclassify it, and we want to say that instead of having just high sales, and low sales, can we have medium sales as well? So can we have medium sales as well? And so this is going to be the formula. So we say that for high sales, it should be when it is greater than 1,000, it should be high sale. And no, okay, let me say when it is greater than 3,000, it should be high sales. So when it is greater than 1,000 but less than 3,000, it should be medium sales. And when it is less than 1,000, it should be low sales. So how do we go about that? So we can also call these further categories of sales. Further categories of sales. So that will be equal to, so here we are going to make use of, we call it nested if, because we are making use of double ifs. We are not just making use of a single if. We are making use of double if. So that's why we call it a nested if condition. So we are going to say that if, then we open our brackets. What's the first logical test? So that will be F2 is greater than 3,000. Then put a comma, inverted quotes. Then we have our if F2 is greater than 3,000, then we have our high sales here. Then we are now going to put a comma. So if you are confused, you can be typing it up here. So we put a comma there, and I say again, if, so that is why it is called a nested if. F2 is greater than 1,000, we should call it medium sales. Medium sales. Then we put a comma. So otherwise, it should be called, because that is value if it is false now, low sales. So when it is less than 1,000, that's what it means. The opposite of greater than is less than. So then I close the brackets, then press enter. So let me go over it again before I continue. Now, look at it very well. Let me go over it again. Now, if F2, I said if F2 is greater than 3,000, that's for high sales. Then I put a comma. That's because we want to divide it into 3. Again, I now say introduce the second if, that if F2 is now greater than 1,000, it should be what? Medium sales. Otherwise, it should be what? Low sales. So what it means is that when you have more than one category, if you have two categories, you make use of just one if. If you are dividing the category into three, you make use of two if statements, which is what we call professionally nested if. And if you are making use of, if you are dividing it into four, you are going to make use of three if statements. But now we are just making use of three. So that's why we are having two if statements. So, and that's why this is medium sales and low sales. So if I should press enter now, you will see that I have low sales there. So let me drag it down the way I drag the other one down. You will see that it's going to classify for me medium and also high sales as well. So when you look at this, we have what, 3,000, and we say when it is greater than 3,000, it should classify it as high sales. And when you look at this as well, we have it as 3,000, and that's why I classify it as high sales. But when you look at this, it's in between 1,000 to 3,000. So that's why it was classified as medium sales. So now let's do another function. Let's do another manipulation. So what if we want to check sales that are above £1,000, sales that are above £1,000, and what if the stakeholder said, okay, we want to know the sales that are above £1,000, and the region is in the east. So we want to know the sales that are above £1,000, and the region is in the east. So how do we go about it? Now, here you can make use of the AND function. You can make use of the AND function to test whichever one that has the whichever one that is greater than 1,000 and is also, the region is also in the east. So let's quickly do that. So greater than 1,000 and region equals to east. So how do we go about it? So we say that equal to, so when you are making use of the AND function, so you start with the AND. So we now say into brackets, F2 is greater than 1,000. What is the second condition? Region is also what? Region is equal to the east. And when you look at region here, region is B. So we say B2 is equal to the east. So then we close it. So now this is going to show us either it is true or it is false. Now, if you look at this, the reason why it is false is because this is less than 1,000, although we have the east here. So let's look at how many is going to be true. So you can see that very few are true. We have just 1, 2, 3, 4. So there are several ways in which you can check the ones that are true. So if I click on filtering, I can filter by the ones that are true, and I can still make use of. So we have just 5 that are true. That is, we have just 5 of the people that are, their sales are above 1,000, and the region is also in the east. We can also make use of the count function. We can also make use of the count function as well to know what I've talked about now. We can make use of the count function. So let me continue. So I want to make use of the OR function here. So let's assume that the stakeholder said that sales that are above 3,000, or the category is electronics. That is, the sales that are above 3,000 or the category is electronics. So that means greater than 3,000. You can see the or is there, or category equals to electronics. So here is the same format. So we are first of all going to have the or function. Then we are now going to say that F2 is greater than 3,000. F2 is greater than 3,000 into brackets. So category, what is the column for category? So that is D. So that will be D2 equal to electronics. So then we close the brackets, then we'll press yes. Then I will drag this down as well. So if I drag this down, you can see we are having a lot of true here, because what or does is that if either is true, that is what or does. And as you can see, this 3,000, we have already said if it is greater than 3,000. So it doesn't matter whether it is electronic or not. And if you look at this one, this is 3,000 and it's not even electronics. So that is how to use the or. And we can know how many by filtering or by using the count function. But let me use the filtering option. I can use to know how many that is true. So we have just 20 here by the number of counts that is here. I have just 20 that is there. And I can still use the count function here by saying that equals to counts and count the number of columns. And so that was why I taught you count first of all. So lastly on the list is the not function, that is NOT, not. So let's assume that we want to know the number of we want to know those sales, the sales that are in all regions except the north. So here now we can make use of the not function. So this gives us the ability to make use of the not function. So I can say that not. So here that will be equal to not. So let me check the column for, yeah, so that's B2. So not B2 equal to not. So this is going to tell me those ones that are true. So if it is in the not, it's going to say false. So when you look at this now, if you look at this false now, the false is in the not because we have said not. So again, I can make use of counts to count the number of truths, and I will be able to know the number of transactions, that came from all regions except the north. So let me see our questions. Yes, I will share the same data with you. The not function is not clear. It's clear now. The not function is clear. What I said about the not function is that you have all the regions. If you have all the regions and you are asked that, okay, can I have all the transactions for the east, west, and the south? Obviously, you just make use of not, or can I have all the transactions for the west, north, and the east? Obviously, you just do away with the west and make use of the west function. I'll make use of the north function. Yes, I will give you the data. We couldn't see the video from the if function, sir. I don't know why you didn't see the video. I think some people saw the video. How do we get all these formulas? Now, there's no need to cram them. I made use of if. I made use of not. I made use of and I made use of or. Okay, I will repeat the if function now again. Can you see my screen? Can you see the screen? Okay, can you see the Excel spreadsheet now? Can you see the Excel spreadsheet now? Don't worry, this is not going to happen in the next class. It's not going to happen. Okay. Yes, I'm going to drop the recorded version. Don't worry. I'm going to drop the recorded version on YouTube tonight. So don't worry about that. I'm going to drop the recorded version of the YouTube. I am going to upload it on YouTube. So don't worry. There's no problem. I will upload it on YouTube tonight. But if you can you see my Excel spreadsheet now? Can you see the Excel spreadsheet? Okay. Let me use it to explain the if function again. Now, I said that we want to categorize the data into high sales and low sales. So I now said you are going to make use of the if function. And so when I came here, I said if. So the first thing you will put is the logical test. So I said if we are actually, I said that if we are dividing it into both sales such that for high sales is going to be greater than 1,000 and for low sales is going to be less than 1,000. So the formula is already in the Excel, and that is what is showing that if the logical test, then it is high sales, and if it is that is if the value is true. If it is less than 1,000, that means it is what? Low sale. And so that was what I did here. If F2 is greater than 1,000, high sale, and if it is less than 1,000, low sale. So then I press enter, and that was what changed the condition. And what did I do next? I drag it down, ensure that the icon changed. Then I drag it down, and it gave me all my answers. So that was what I did there. Don't worry, just watch it on YouTube tonight. Can we use Google Sheet instead of Excel? Yes, you can use Google Sheet instead of Excel. Okay, I will repeat the hand. It's like you want me to repeat everything. I will repeat the ones I can repeat. Because if you still watch it on YouTube, YouTube cannot be cracking. YouTube will show you everything. Mine is showing 2016 Excel. The long date, look at what mine is showing. 2016 Excel. That's just because of the type of Excel that you are using. What's the difference between Google Sheets and Excel? There's no difference between both. They perform the same function. It's like somebody using iPhone and the other person is using Samsung. So what is the function of phone? Is it not to make calls and to receive message? So that's why there's no difference between iPhone and Samsung except for the difference of maker. How do we use the count function to check the number of true or false? Yes, you can use the count function. So when you use the count function, you are going to make use of count if. You are going to make use of count if. So that will be equal to count if. It's not just, it will not just be count alone. It's going to be count if. So you can see the formula here, range and criteria. So what is the range? Our range is F2, F51. And what is the criteria? True. True is the criteria. So here I'm going to put true. Then I will press enter. Count if, oh, sorry, count if, I'm not supposed to use F. So count if all of this, if it is true, then press enter. So we have 5, which is what we had the other time. Now, instead of doing it for the rest, I can just drag it horizontally like this. So this gives me the number of true that is here, 20, you can see, and also gives me the number of true that is here, 37. I think I've answered that. Yes, I will drop the data sheet on the Telegram. I've answered how do we use count function to check the number of true or false. I've answered that. The ID is on the right part. the ID is on the right part, while the region is on the left part. If I want everything to be on the left part and prefer the ID to be on the left side, how can I go about that? I'm not sure I understand your question. I'm not sure I understand the question you are asking. The ID is here. You are saying that if I want to get it. You are saying if I want this to come here, I don't know what you are saying, because you can always copy and paste and put it there. Okay, somebody said I should repeat the hand. So let's do the hand again. Now, I said if the sales is greater than 1,000 and the region is equal to the east. The sales is greater than 1,000 and the region is equal to the east. So this is what we have here. This is the AND. It has to start with the AND function. Then you are now going to have if F2 is greater than 1,000, then you put a comma. If you are stuck with any formula, anytime you put the function, Excel will always put for you what you are going to put there. So you can see logical 1, logical 2. So that's why I have if the sales is greater than 1,000 and it is also the region. And that is why this is false. And so when I use the count if down there, count if, the range, and the criteria, it gave me the total number of transactions that is greater than that the sales amount is greater than 1,000 and the region is equal to the east. It is somewhere at the top. Click there. Yes, anything you are doing, as long as you click on equal to, you can always use this place to complete everything. If you are confused, you can always use this top to complete everything and just press enter and it will give you your answers. The or is the same thing as the and. There's no difference between both. This is the or. The or is the same thing as the and. When you write the or, and I said if it is greater than 3,000 or D equals to electronics. So then you press enter, you see it here, false, true, and you have false, then you drag it down. It's the same thing. There are no differences. And if you to know the total number of true, all I have to do is to count if, the range, then put true there. Then I have it there. Yeah, maybe it's your network. Hopefully everything will be normalized by next week. Everything will normalize by next week. All right. So let me quickly go over what we've done today. Like a quick recap. So we started with using the add, the division, and the likes. So total sales using some minimum, using the lowest sales record, highest sales record, maximum, and to know the total transaction using the counts. And we also make use of the if function to divide high sales and low sales. Then here, the nested if to divide the nested if. We use the nested if. Well, what the nested if means is a combination of two ifs. That's what the nested if means. So we have high sales, medium sales, and low sales. And when we did all of those, we drag it down. Also the and, the or, and the not. This is what generally, this is what manipulation in Excel looks like when you are making use of those functions. And like I said, I will drop the video tonight on my YouTube channel. So you can watch on my YouTube channel tonight. So thank you. Thank you very much for joining. If you have network issue, just watch on my YouTube channel tonight. What if the data we have is too big to drag down? No, if it is too big to drag down, that's a very good question. If it is too big to drag down, you can always, yes, that's what I want to show you. Use the down sheet, control shift down. So when you come here and you press the control shift and down, it will drag it down for you. You can, if you have thousands of data, it will drag it down for you. All you need to do is just change the click on it, change the cursor, control shift down. You can see that I didn't drag it down and it worked. So that's another bonus for you. So thank you so much, and I will send the video tonight. So see you next week.